Well, good morning. You're listening to 107.3 FM, KJAS in Jasper, and 99.1 FM, KFAH in Pineland. There has been a lot of talk, but very few answers about something that surfaced on Friday. We have a special guest in the studio with us, along with Mike Lout, and hopefully we will get some answers. We now go live to Mike Lout, who is standing by here in the KJAS studios. Mike Lout.
KJAS Radio News with a special report informing you of what's going on in your community. Well, there's been a lot of stuff going on, or maybe not going on. We don't know. We will tell you that we have with us this morning Dr. Gerald Hudson, who is the new superintendent of schools here in Jasper. And he's with us this morning. Dr. Hudson, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
He is the new superintendent of schools. And, of course, I did a little bit of editorializing in the early morning news this morning, and the reason why was KJS started receiving calls on Friday saying that the head coach, Darrell, Barbay, athletic director, had been fired from the school. Others said that he had quit. Then, of course, the Facebook went to work, and all of these things were told. There were some media outlets in the Golden Triangle area. That's Beaumont, Port Arthur area. Since he's from Dallas, I'm telling about the Golden Triangle because they don't hardly use that word anymore. That's the metroplex of the South down here. But anyway, media outlets started reporting that the coach had fired or been terminated and this and that sort of thing. KJS held off on Friday, and we didn't report anything because we could not find out what was going on, and we did not want to report rumors or accusations or gossip or falsehoods. We wanted to report the news. And we tried to get in touch with members of the school board. We got in touch with two that told us that they referred us to you. But anyway, then Tom Webb was a great man. On Saturday, he came forth as a school board member elected by the people and thought that he should tell us something, and he did. And he told us that basically that the coach was still on board, but there might be some changes, but that you would be talking about it on Monday. So our intentions were to talk to you about that today and see what's going on. But then we heard this morning that there had been a walkout or a protest or a demonstration or anyway something that took place at the school. Tell us about that.
Well, of course, anytime you deal with the discussions about positions and so forth in the school district, there's always going to be emotions, and we had some of our students and a couple of our coaches really adamant about what's going on, and so we had students decide they want to walk out and show their support of Coach Barbay. Okay,
so let's start back at the beginning, and I understand that being a superintendent of schools, you're also an employer, and you're somewhat limited as to what you can talk about when it comes to personnel.
Absolutely.
But you can talk about changes in positions or categories or rankings or that sort of thing. Can you tell us as much as you can about what's going on here and what precipitated all this and how it started?
Well, I can tell you that as far as Coach Barbay's status with the district, he's still employed with the district. He has not resigned. He has not been fired. He is still an employee of the district. As a new superintendent, one of the things, the first thing we have to do is evaluate every aspect of the school district, and that, whether it's cafeteria all the way up to the cabinet, and to make sure that we are doing what's in the best interest of the district. And so we want to be able to evaluate every aspect of it, and so we're evaluating all aspects of the jobs, including athletic director, head coaching, and so that's one of the process we're going through. And so we had a conversation on Friday, and like I said, he's still a part of this school district. There's nothing saying that he's not. Okay, now
there are two positions, because sometimes we get a little bit confused here.
Yes.
There's a position of athletic director, and then there's the head coach of the high school football team, right?
Yes, technically, the districts of this size, you don't separate the two. Because you don't have the funding to have two separate entities, a head coach and athletic director. So when we talk about the athletic director position. We speak of it as athletic director, head coach together.
Okay.
It's equivalent to when you talk about a coach, they're a teacher / coach. It's a dual contract. So, we don't typically separate those two out, especially at this level, especially the size of the school district.
Okay. And he is the athletic director and the head coach.
Absolutely.
So our athletic director / head coach,
Yes.
this is the same position.
It's the same
in
position
a small
school
district.
district.
Okay. Is he still in that capacity at this time?
Currently, he's still in that capacity.
Okay. Is there thoughts of changing this?
We're evaluating every aspect of it, and once again, I want to make sure I'm making the best decision for the community, for our athletes, and I want to make sure that if we are going to make a change, that what we are bringing in is going to be of quality and worth and better. And so, like I said, my job is to evaluate every aspect of it, and hopefully we'll have something more concrete, and we know exactly which direction we're going.
Okay. So where did all of the rough edges come about? Is that whenever it was learned that you were looking at all of the positions in the school?
It could be. You never know what set people off, and you never know what is part of rumors and what is part of the truth. And so, I respect Coach Barbay, and I had we had a very peaceful conversation. We had a very good dialogue, and like I said, from there I don't necessarily know where all this came about, but the additional stuff. But I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. And once again, when I had a conversation with the students, we talked about the right. They have a right to protest. They have a right to. They have a constitutional right as well as the state constitutional right to protest. And I said this is an educational opportunity for our students to really understand that. But what I did share with them that their displeasure has been duly noted, and I said I understand Coach Barbay as well as myself and the teachers in this building, and probably the parents are really concerned about you not being in the classroom, and we really want you to be in the classroom, taking care of your education opportunities. And so we had a conversation with them, and the majority of the kids went back into the classroom, because we were actually going to open up an additional lunch, because I'm not trying to. I always say that in our situation, you have a gallon of gasoline and you have a gallon of water, and I choose to use water. And so even though we had some kids outside, we were willing to offer them an additional lunch, because even though they're not in class, they're being marked absent because they're not physically in the classroom. I don't want them to feel like they're missing out on an opportunity to have their lunch. Mm-hmm. And so we were going to work that out. But I told them, I said, we're willing to work that out for you. It's really noted that you're here, and I think it's better for us to make sure you go back to class, deal with this differently, and then we don't have to make our cafeteria workers do something additional. And so they all agreed.
So these students today, how many of them were, do you think?
I would say roughly, if I had to take a ballpark figure, probably 30 students.
So they will be marked with absences because they were not in class.
Well, we worked it out. If some kids were it was in and out. It wasn't like they were all out there at the same time, and some people out there because they had a different first period, and some kids were concerned about different classes. So, I just didn't want it to continue on back and forth. The thing is, I want them to make sure they understood that their message was heard loud and clear. And that's what they wanted. They wanted me to hear the message. And so I noted the message, and I told them exactly, I hear you. I see you, and I hear you. And so what we need to do now is to continue on what we believe is the best thing for us to do right now, is to be in the classrooms.
So bottom line is, you've said to me as superintendent this morning that you're looking at all different aspects or different operations within the school, from the janitorial staff to the administration to whatever. And as a superintendent, you may need to make changes in that.
Yes, and it's really, people always say, well, change is not always bad. If we didn't have change, we wouldn't have butterflies.
Right.
And so change is uncomfortable, but when we show that things need to be done in a certain direction, there's reasons behind that. And so we have expectation. I have expectation of how our buildings looks. I have expectation of how we address kids. I have expectations of how we operate school. And that's part of my job as superintendent, to set those expectations so that my people can rise to it, because I have an obligation to every student in this building every parent in this community, every community member, every taxpayer to be financially fiscal with the money, as well as provide our kids with every opportunity to be successful.
I could ask you today, is there going to be any changes in the athletic department to the school? And I know that your answer would probably, if you were going to be truthful, which I expect you to be, you'd say you don't know because you don't know what's going to come about.
I don't know what's going to come about.
So it would be hard for you to make a blank statement, but there has not been any changes, what you're telling me, at this time?
At this particular moment, there has not been any concrete changes that it's something I can say without a doubt. If hypothetically, he came in and handed a resignation note, I can say he has resigned. Mm-hmm. But I have no paperwork or anything that stipulates anything that tells me his position with the district has changed. Mm-hmm. Now, in the future, if that changed, you'll be the first to hear about it.
I thank you for telling us, sir. And I've always said that some people, in which I'll be honest with you, I have to be honest. I'm not too proud of the news media these days in a lot of different forms and fashions. I hate that deal where somebody comes running at you with a microphone and wants your comment on something and that sort of thing, catching you, at off-the-cuff type questions like that and everything. I'd always have dealt straight one-on-one with people, and I appreciate you coming here today with us. And I've always thought, and I still do think, that the rumor mill can do more damage on any given day than the news media can in a year.
Absolutely. And
now we have, us in the news media have a deal in that we have people that get mad at us because we're not reporting. Case in point, a young man from Jasper was killed in a tragic auto accident that occurred a few months ago over in Angelina County. And people were upset with us because we were not reporting that. But the fact was that they said, well, it's all over Facebook. Everybody's talking about, well, we can't talk about it because until we have from someone official that says this man has been pronounced dead, because we don't want to pronounce the wrong name, because we have to be held accountable for what we do in the news media. And also not just being accountable, but to me, the First Amendment privilege is a very big privilege that I carry very carefully, because when we tell people something, it has to be to our best knowledge the truth of the way things are. Mm-hmm. Has KJS ever reported things wrong? Absolutely. And we will come back just as soon as we do. And we've always said, other people report the news on the front page and then they report it when it's wrong back on the back page. We report it on the front page where we're wrong and apologize for it. But anyway, Tom Webb is here with us today. Tom, do you wish to say anything today? Would you like to share anything with us?
I think Dr. Hudson's covered everything that has been asked about, and I commend him and his efforts and the way that he's handled this situation today at the high school with the faculty and with the students. He is definitely an advocate for educating our students.
Tom, I thank you for being here today. And Dr. Hudson, I thank you for being here today with us and for telling us what's going on. As a newsman that's been here for a long time, I'm going to say something, Tom, and it's not meant to you. But there is something that is brewing in this town that's not good. There has never been as much secrecy in the history of this schoolhouse. There's never been as much secrecy with any other school board that we've had with this school board. And I'm not getting on Tom Webb. You're here, and I thank you. And I thank you for making a comment to us Saturday and telling us what's going on. There has never been in the history of Jasper as much secrecy that is going on under LaQuinn Hildebrand as being president of this school board and under this school board. And I think that it's sad. I think that it's a travesty. And I think that the people on that school board, and once again, I'm not talking to you, Tom. I'm commending you. But there are people on the school board that need to remember that they were elected not by the superintendent, not by the principals, or not by anyone else. They were elected by the people of this town. And they need to step up and man up and be able to say yay or nay or whatever. But this deal of referring comments to other people is a coward's way out, and I'm not going to go any further on that, but I will in the future.
Well, let me
I want to comment on that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to comment as a school board member and as an elected official of this town, this community, and this county. We have a very unique set of rules that we have to follow, and it is state law, and it is local law and policies that we've got within the board and from the state. we are bound, and we can show it in writing. We are bound that Dr. Hudson is the only one that can comment, if he comments, on any personnel actions. We are forbidden by law to comment on any personnel actions, on any disciplinaries or any reprimands or any restrictions that's been placed on any personnel. So if you take an employer, just to say if you fire one of your employees for whatever reason, or you put them on restriction, that is between that employee and you. That is something that cannot be released out to the public. And we are bound by laws to do that. Dr. Hudson is the district spokesperson. He is the district supervisor. When we are elected officials, the only person that works for the school board is Dr. Hudson.
I agree 100%, but also I think I understand the Open Meetings and the Open Records Act of Texas about as well as anyone, and it is not against the rules for school board members to talk about policy. It's not against the school board rules or anybody's rules to talk about budgets, procedures, upcoming events, and that has been the case over the last few months. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this. As mayor of Jasper, I was mayor for 6 years in some of the most controversial times in this city, and I never refused at any hour, any time, to meet with the news media to give them a comment. Whether it be at 12 o'clock, I remember KBMT came to my house at 10:30 one night, and I gave them a comment. I'm just saying that when we start running from the news media, that means to most people that we're hiding things. Now, whether we are or not, I don't know. Well, but I think that the school board has taken a very serious direction, and when we start hiding things, things are going to be, even if there's nothing going on, it will be perceived as such.
Well, let me go ahead and address that, because part of the deal is, as the superintendent, this is, we have to have one voice, and so we want to make sure communication is very clear and concise, and so I communicate with the board on everything that I'm going to say and everything I'm going to address and my actions and things I'm doing. And I want to feel that the board trusts me and my judgment. And so that's the reason I'm here. I didn't have to come in. I could have.
And I appreciate you and commend you for that.
So it's not anything against my board president or anyone in the board. But the thing is, this is the first time we had to deal with this, and we've talked about who's the person who's supposed to communicate. As we made a comment that they're deferring everything to me at this particular point. And so it's nothing against LaQuinn Hildebrand or anyone else on the school board. It was the decision for me to be the one to discuss and deal with this. And so that's when we want to make sure that the message is very clear and that we are giving that. But I am in constant communication with my board, so there's no secrecy. And I don't want the community to feel like we're trying to hold things back. That's not the case. That is not the case. I just want to make sure that the voice that they hear is the voice of the superintendent, because once again, decisions we make, I'm making these decisions.
Thank you, sir. And once again, I commend both you members for coming here today and telling us what's going on. Maybe if we could have had some of these conversations on Friday, we wouldn't be where we're at this morning.
Well, and I probably agree with you on that. And like I said, when you have conversations, sometimes you don't necessarily which direction those things are going to go. And so it was a little faster than I anticipated. And so then it became weekend, and then it became I'm here at the earliest convenience. So it wasn't an issue of hiding anything, but it's more or less, as anytime you have a conversation and a personnel issue, you want to protect all the entities involved, the individuals' families, the people that's associated with the individual, the school district. And so, were we ready for a comment on Friday? Absolutely, but that would probably have to happen at 6 or 7 o'clock. And so, my feelings were that today would be the best time to deal with that. And that's why when they were out there, I said I would be in as soon as I can. And I had my note to give you a phone call. And pretty much the central office, my people shut down at 4 o'clock on Fridays. And I don't want people to believe that was a ploy to
No,
keep.
I don't believe that, because it's a day that they close every day.
Well, especially on Fridays,
Yeah.
you want, and they have kids, and I don't want the people to believe that this was a ploy to not address anything. But that's, like I said, I'm here freely. I wasn't summoned here. I volunteered without any kind of directive. But I felt like if I did tell someone that if there's going to be, I want to create this relationship with my media outlets that I cannot address rumors. I cannot address, personnel issues, but if there are some things that we have to discuss, that I will be here first to tell you about it so that you won't have to hear from somebody else. You need to hear from me. And I want to create that trust so that when I tell you that this is what's happening, that is factual. There's no ands, ands, buts about it. And that I can't address rumors, I can't address the other things, but once there's factual things, then yes, we will be here to address those things and the steps we need to do to move forward.
I thank both of you for coming out. And once again, Tom, I was not picking on you as a school board member.
No, and I understand that. And even talking to some of my colleagues, the questions that were asked were not about policy. The questions that were asked were not about...
I'm talking about in preceding months, there's been some questions asked about policy in which secrecy has clamped down.
Okay, I can't answer to that.
We've been coming to this for a while, and it's going to stop. Okay, thank both of you for being here today.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
And we thank you. That's Mike Lout with Dr. Gerald Hudson, Superintendent of Jasper ISD, and Board Member Tom Webb. A special report here on KJAS. 6 minutes after the hour, and this is 107.3 FM KJAS in Jasper and 99.1 FM KF.